With an unmanned suicide drones that have been striking Ukraine's capital city in waves as Russia ramps up their attacks.
For the latest on the situation, there we go live to CTV's Paul Workman, who's on the ground in Kharkiv. Paul, thank you for joining us. I understand this is the second barrage of attacks using drones to hit the capital in just a few weeks. Can you tell us the situation there?
Well, Russia started using the drones actually a couple of months ago, but their use has become much more extensive. And today we probably saw the biggest attack yet on a Ukrainian city. You could say that a swarm of drones were unleashed on Kyiv with very deadly results. As we saw today, they sound like mopeds as they're coming in, and they're called kamikaze drones because they explode on impact, or suicide drones. We know that 4 people were killed today in Kyiv and quite a large number of people wounded. One apartment building that was very badly damaged, sending thick gray smoke through the streets of Kyiv, and in fact firefighters had to bring heavy equipment in to be able to lift the rubble up to find some of the survivors who were inside this particular building. So a very heavy unleashing today of these drones, which are largely a vehicle of fear. They don't have a large explosive. There's not a lot of explosive on them, but they certainly caused enough damage today and enough death to make people in this country very afraid of these drones.
Psychological as much as physical, Paul. That's pretty clear there. In the meantime, what about the targets they were hitting? Because, of course, we've heard, of past attacks by Russia on Ukraine that they've, playgrounds, schools, etc., not necessarily military targets, more civilian targets.
Well, it's very clear now that Russia, Vladimir Putin, intends to try to knock out the infrastructure of this country, especially the energy infrastructure. And that appears to be what most of the drones were targeting today. They're precision drones, so they would have a GPS coordinate to be able to attack. And it seems as if they were going after those kinds of civilian targets. But then again, one of them hit an apartment building today. And in fact, we also heard that after one drone struck, another one came in shortly after that on the same target zone, called a tap again attack, if you like, which is a very dirty way of doing war, let alone the whole idea of using unmanned drones to kill people.
And Paul, what do we know about the drones themselves? Are they being supplied by Iran?
Yeah, that's exactly what we understand. Their official name is the Shahed 136, developed by Iran, bought by Russia. The name was changed to have given a Russian name. They were repainted in Russian colors and have been sent out a number of occasions to hit Ukrainian cities. As I say, it's a weapon of terror as much as it's a weapon of trying to create death and injury. And that's exactly what Russia intends here, not only to attack the infrastructure of the country, but to drive people into fear and into bomb shelters and into the subway as much as they possibly can to disrupt their everyday lives here.
Yeah, it's pretty clear Russia trying to sort of regain the upper hand after sort of losing ground over the last several weeks, Paul. And it was interesting. We spoke to you last week after the barrage of attacks 1 week ago in Kyiv and in around Ukraine. And there was talk then from the international community about getting the idea of getting air defense and air detection in. That couldn't get there any sooner than yesterday, really. What's the latest on that side of the promises from the international community?
Well, you're absolutely right. And don't forget that a week ago, the attack in Kyiv and across the country, across Ukraine, was a missile attack, much more lethal, much faster to arrive on their targets. These drones travel slow, they travel low, but they can still be deadly. One of the things that possibly could be done to combat against drones is to be able to find a way to block them, to block their signal, if you like. And then that may be one thing that NATO is going to be able to help with. In fact, NATO said today that it would try to get that kind of technology into the country as quickly as it can. But yes, also the United States and Germany have both agreed and are sending much more sophisticated anti-missile defense systems to this country, which should be in place probably in the next very short while, I think.
Sooner the better, indeed, for Ukraine, that's for sure. That is CTV's Chief International Correspondent Paul Workman joining us live from Kyiv. Paul, thank you.